I also have more questions for the Oracle of Omaha, so we'll leave it to the fascinating part of the video. After all, if you read the article we're discussing and recall other statements by Ray Dalio, it becomes apparent that you need to get away from the dollar right now. He sees a huge chance of bankruptcy, that is, in say 5 or 10 years, they simply won't even exist. Glad to welcome you to the CoinPost channel. Ray Dalio and Warren Buffett are the two authorities in the investment world who have completely different points of view. The former manages one of the leading hedge funds, Bridgewater Associates, constantly trying to beat the market. The latter adheres to the classical views on investment, prefers to buy for the long term, and doesn't believe in the possibility of profit from speculative trading. Each article or interview of Dalio or Buffett turns into various quotes. It's a financial beacon and a stock of truth for many people, and I also belong to those. But if you look at their publications and statements over time, there's some understatement. I think this describes it best. Today, I suggest talking about what Ray Dalio and Warren Buffett kept from us in their recent speeches. Let's see if there's any hidden subtexts in their statement to understand better what they are actually doing. Thank you all in advance who can help us promoting this video with their engagement. Subscribe to the channel, please. Let's start. Let's take Ray Dalio first. For example, because he has a lot less money than Buffett. I also have more questions for the Oracle of Omaha, so we'll leave it to the fascinating part of the video. Ray Dalio is a well-known opponent of fiat money. He calls it garbage and recommends getting rid of buying real assets, such as gold. And a little more than a month ago, he published a long article on the changing value of money. Indeed, it's a valuable study where he analyzes the crisis which led to the loss of 80% of fiat money and the depreciation of the part that survived. Then he draws a logic parallel with the US dollar, which has already experienced a sharp devaluation twice, in 1933 and 1971, and has been actively losing its real value since the year 2000. Thanks to the ever-increasing rate of the US public debt. Thus, these processes should lead to the loss of reserve currency status for the US dollar and further, to its possible complete disappearance. As they say, where there was one currency, another one took its place. It's a normal thing for many countries, which they have experienced more than once. This article is actively shared on YouTube under the slogan "Ray Dalio personally predicted the dollar collapse virtually in 2021. Although the article doesn't have such a figure, and there is no deadline on when the dollar should disappear whatsoever. Some people find it scary that there is the real probability of the dollar going away, while for others, it's a long-awaited event. However, the idea of this video is not to destroy a green piece of paper, but to understand what Ray Dalio did not tell us and why. So we begin the analysis with a disclaimer. High-profile companies, and Bridgewater is among them, don't go anywhere without a disclaimer. And in it we find fascinating information, that they only express their opinion and can change it at any time without prior notice. That is, today we think that everything is bad with the dollar, but tomorrow we can change our mind. And then it gets even more interesting. Bridgewater may have an incredible financial interest in one or more of the items discussed. These words mean that they can, no, not lie, this would be too much, but give the information in such a way that you make a confident decision, while Bridgewater can satisfy its financial interest. After all, if you read the article we're discussing and recall other statements by Ray Dalio, it becomes apparent that you need to get away from the dollar right now. Regular viewers of CoinPost know where I ran away to a long time ago, but Ray Dalio's followers are clearly lured into gold. By the way, this article has many examples of currency depreciation and disappearance, losing the competition. But for some reason they don't say that the dollar now has no competitors that could replace it. This is the time, it's for starters. Secondly, he's always comparing it to gold, which by its nature is an asset with limited emission, and it makes sense that it's growing in value under capitalism when the economic model of the world is built on constant inflation. Thirdly, if we compare the dollar and the currencies of other countries, then, on the contrary, it's growing. In practice, this is not so, as the dollar depreciates much more slowly than other currencies, but when compared with the money of developing countries, such as Turkey, Russia or Brazil, then the dollar has been growing steadily over the past 10 years, and such examples could be enough for several videos. And now a separate comment without figures. In his article, Ray Dalio several times mentioned the Bretton Woods system adopted in 1944, which abolished the gold standard, that is, linking paper money to precious metal. But in fact, the gold standard was officially cancelled only in 1976, when the world switched to the Jamaican currency system. And then the dollar lost the status of the world's only reserve currency, becoming one of a few, although it remains the top one up to now. These are the questions I had to Ray Dalio after reading his stuff, and this is by no means a claim. I respect this man, and I can say I admire him to some extent. We have even made a recent video on the principles of success by Ray Dalio, and how he managed to become one of the wealthiest people in the world. For my channel, it's an unusual format, but this matter touched me, and I decided to get into it. And now, as I promised, I'm moving on to our next and primary guest, Warren Buffett. On February 24th, when the US stock market was just starting to crumble due to the quarantine and the economy shutting down, Warren Buffett gave a 2-hour interview to CNBC. He was quoted a lot, and now they serve it as a story in which Warren Buffett shared his investment strategy. That's right, Buffett did tell a lot of useful stuff there, and he also commented on the stock market and announced his future actions. And right now, I propose to compare what Warren Buffett said and what he was really doing for 3 months, when the stock market first went into the abyss and then resurrected like a phoenix bird thanks to multi-billion-dollar injections from the Fed. Here are some of Buffett's points from that interview. You need to make long-term investments for 10 years or more, but markets may collapse, but then they're gonna grow anyway, and you will be in the black. Berkshire Hathaway is a buyer on the market. Their 130 billion stock in dollars is waiting in the wings for the future purchases. If markets continue to fall, Buffett is going to buy. Quarantine is not a reason for refusing to buy shares. Take General Motors, for example. Their sales will drop due to the quarantine, but they will sell some cars. Their business will keep operating and eventually bringing profit to the shareholders. And he also advised buying at equal amounts and not looking for a better time to enter the market, because no one can predict it. And even Warren Buffett doesn't know it either. So, those were Buffett's pieces of advice, and now, onto his actions. After the stock market crashed at an all-time low in March, he did buy stocks. Not many though, they were owned earlier. In the language of investors, Buffett averaged at a bargain price. But then he reported a loss of $49 billion due to the market crash. And later it was revealed that Berkshire Hathaway got rid of all its airline shares. If we go back to his General Motors example, that they will sell a certain number of cars anyway, till the airlines will transport a certain amount of passengers anyway, but Warren didn't give them a chance and sold all the shares. It means only one thing: he sees a huge chance of bankruptcy. That is, in say 5 or 10 years, they simply won't even exist, and therefore they won't bring profit. Following this, bankruptcy may overtake one of the leading investment banks in the world, Goldman Sachs. Warren Buffett sold 84% of his shares in this company. And most importantly, Berkshire Hathaway didn't buy anything and still don't do it. Is there no business in the market that would interest Warren Buffett? Amazon didn't close. He could increase his investments into Jeff Bezos' company. And why doesn't he follow his advice to buy regularly? Maybe because it's impossible to predict the market collapse for the sake of the best price? Well, either Buffett can predict the market bottom, or he knows something that makes him sit on suitcases with dollars. By the way, in his message to investors, Warren complained that due to the actions of the Fed, his dollars depreciate faster. But at the same time, he continues to keep them and doesn't invest in anything. What can Warren Buffett's actions mean as they go against his words? That the stock market has not collapsed yet, or that there's going to be a wave of high-profile bankruptcies, and therefore it's now impossible to predict a business that will last another 5 or 10 years? Share your opinion in the comments. And I just want to remind you that your subscription, along with the notification bell, help to promote the video. And that's all for today. Thank you for watching. It's the Coin Post channel. Subscribe and get enlightened.